So we all know about Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford, definitely one of the most iconic leather-based fragrances of this century. And fans of perfumery will also know Rasasi's La Yuqawam pour Homme, in my opinion one of the finest clones of Tuscan Leather. However, there might just be a new player in town. Tonight I'm going to introduce you guys to Haramain's Oudh Patchouli. This is going to be a very informative video, I hope you stick around. Hey, welcome back to Real Scent Review. So this one is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty to the point. I'm going to take something that might be somewhat confusing and try to simplify it as best I can. So yeah, La Yuqawam pour Homme, amazing clone here. In fact, I think it's better than the original Tuscan Leather. Same high quality, great performance. But you know, these days it's much more expensive than it used to be. So that's why I wanted to introduce you guys to this one here, Haramain's Oudh Patchouli. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to attempt to clear up some confusion surrounding this fragrance. As you can see here, this is called Oudh Patchouli. If you go on Fragrantica and you look up the note description of this, you will find that this does not resemble Tuscan Leather DNA at all. If you look this up on Fragrantica, what you will find is a woody, musky, animalic, and smoky fragrance. That is not what this is. So let's go back a little bit. Haramain used to have a fragrance called Leather Oud. That was released in 2016. That one was discontinued at some point, I'm thinking around 2019. The note description for Leather Oud is exactly what this one, Oudh Patchouli, actually smells like. So this Oudh Patchouli was released in 2019. Now I'm thinking that something like this happened. I'm thinking that Leather Oud was discontinued sometime around 2018 maybe. And then in 2019, this one here, Oudh Patchouli, was released. This one here smells a lot like Tuscan Leather. It's clearly a Tuscan Leather clone. But the confusing part is that if you research on YouTube and some other review websites, you'll find that people describe this one very differently. You'll find that people actually describe it as that woody, musky, animalic, and smoky fragrance that you find on Fragrantica. Now, I can't explain it. I really don't know. This is absolutely not that woody, musky, smoky, animalic profile. This is definitely a leather-based fragrance here. So I'm thinking maybe, I'm not sure, is there an Oudh Patchouli that smells different than this Oudh Patchouli? Another thing is this. You can find this one here, Oudh Patchouli, on Joma Shop in the United States. And if you look at this barcode number here on my fragrance, Joma Shop shows the exact same barcode. So I'm willing to bet that in North America and in Europe, they're selling this as a remade, rebottled, renamed version of Leather Oud. And I'm thinking that in Eastern markets, they're selling a different version of Oudh Patchouli, which I have not tried. So I hope that makes sense to you. Just wanted to clear those things up in case you went to buy this and you were extremely disappointed after having read the Fragrantica reviews. Now, like I said, those Fragrantica reviews might be accurate for a different market. I don't know. The whole thing is pretty confusing. Anyway, let's get into the side-by-side comparison now. I'll go over the presentation a bit, you know. It's a good box. It's definitely solid, very solid cardboard. Yeah, you can hit this pretty hard and it's not gonna dent even. Very tough box, very nice. Opens up here in the top, first flap, and then there's a second flap there. You just pull up with one of your fingers and yada, yada. I'm not gonna go in depth into the presentation because what really matters is what's inside. You know, honestly, I'm gonna eat my words. This is a pretty nice bottle. I will go over this bottle a little bit. So you can see wooden cap, very nice wooden cap, and Haramain logo pressed into the top here. I really like this bottle cap. We got a frosted glass bottle here. It's brown, it's kind of like a tobacco brown color. The cap, you know, doesn't really click into place, but there's a little bit of friction. It's a pretty decent bottle, very heavy. This is 100 milliliters, by the way, and it's very substantial, very heavy bottle. Impressed with the presentation here. So let's spray Oudh Patchouli. Atomizer's not the greatest. It's a little bit wispy, but hey, you know, not the worst. And I think that the smell more than makes up for it. The notes that I detect, We get some raspberry and thyme in the opening. In the mid, leather, touch of incense. And this basically dries down with that leather and incense, and you can still detect the thyme in the background as well. Okay, now let's bring out the La Yuqawam spray. Great atomizer. If you've checked out my review on this one before, you know that it's definitely one of my favorite fragrances. Yeah, I won't say much more than that right now. Okay, so the main notes in this one that I get are, in the top, saffron and raspberry. In the mid, you get some suede and leather. And this dries down with some incense and just more leather. So yeah, note breakdowns here pretty similar. Now there are some differences here. So for example, Al Haramain's Oudh Patchouli opens up with a lot of thyme mixed with raspberry. So thyme is a savory spice. It's herbal. You get that gasoline tinge at the beginning here, but in Oudh Patchouli, it's coming from thyme and raspberry, whereas in La Yuqawam, it's coming from that mixture of saffron and raspberry. So the opening to this is very savory. It's herbal, mixed with that bitter raspberry as well. And this dries down with some leather and a little bit of incense as well. Now, the leather in this is, to me, a little bit more oily than the leather in La Yuqawam, and I'll get to that in a minute. And the gasoline tinge is a little bit toned down in this compared to La Yuqawam. There's a darkness to this as well. I think it might be because of that oily leather. And the thyme is present throughout the entirety of the lifespan of this fragrance. All in all, really, really good. And the performance, by the way, pretty damn good as well. Solid projection for an hour and a half. And it lasts on my skin a total of 7-8 hours. So it's a pretty damn good performer. People will definitely notice you. And you'll catch wafts of this throughout the day. So now La Yuqawam, the beginning we get that earthy, spicy, dry saffron mixed with that raspberry, giving it that gasoline-y tinge that I love. And this dries down with some suede and some leather. Now the suede gives it like a dustiness. It's like a lighter version of leather. And we also do get the leather there in the background as well. Although the leather in this one it's dry. It's drier than it is in Oudh Patchouli. And the gasoline accord in this one is definitely more prominent than it is in Oudh Patchouli. And in the dry down here, we definitely get more substantial olibanum incense as well. So really, to simplify it, La Yuqawam, drier, dustier, more gasoline-y, slightly more incensey. And this one here, the leather is a little bit darker, it's more oily, there's less incense, less gasoline, and that thyme note, there's a thyme note all the way through this one. So they're very similar, but there are also some differences. By the way, La Yuqawam has awesome performance, definitely 2 hours, solid projection on my skin. The sillage is great, longevity, maybe a little bit more than 8 hours on my skin. Great. I think the performance is a little bit better here than it is here, but not finished yet. By the way, I've been hearing a lot of complaints recently about potential reformulations of La Yuqawam, different packaging, all that stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know. This bottle here is from July of 2022. And it's a really good performer, super solid fragrance here. So any more recent batches than that, I honestly can't speak to the authenticity of those claims, sorry. But anyway, these two here, definitely very similar. Although in the beginning they do share some differences, but you know, after a few hours they start to smell more and more similar. And honestly, if I had to pick one, I would probably still go with La Yuqawam. It's definitely closer to Tuscan Leather, and at least my batch has very, very good performance, super good quality. This one here is not quite as similar to Tuscan Leather, still a very good fragrance, solid performance, solid quality, but it's got almost a little bit of an oriental twist on it. Almost a little bit of an oriental twist, if I could say that. And you know what? If you're on a little bit of a budget, you should probably just pick this one up because this one can be had for $40 US on Joma Shop. That's for a 100 milliliter bottle. And on Joma Shop, this is $55 US for only 75 milliliters. So if budget is no object for you, I think I would still go with this one, you know, over the actual Tom Ford Tuscan Leather as well. I find this is just a better fragrance, like I said, at least my particular batch. But if you're on a budget, maybe you want a little bit of a spicy twist on that Tuscan Leather DNA, Oudh Patchouli is gonna be super, super solid for you. You definitely won't regret this one. It's a really good fragrance. I think it's a little bit of a hidden gem, honestly. And you know, like I said, if you're trying to save some money but you want to smell like Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, you really can't go wrong. Check this one out. Anyway guys, that's been my side-by-side comparison of La Yuqawam and Oudh Patchouli, which I'm pretty sure is a remake of Leather Oud by Haramain. Hope I was able to clear up some confusion regarding this one, and I hope you've enjoyed the review. Until next time guys, keep it real.